All right, welcome everybody to the webinar. My name is Josh Carter here at Hatch, and today's topic is going to be on how to get in front of today's homeowner and land more jobs. And really, guys, the goal here is to help you beat the competition. That's important now more than ever. And Mark from Webrunner and I, we have really unique perspectives here with this topic. Mark is a master at Webrunner at the whole buying journey before conversion, right? He has mastered the art of getting folks interested in your brand, interested in learning more about your company, getting jobs done, and then eventually converting. And Hatch has a unique perspective at understanding what makes homeowners buy, what messaging works, what messaging doesn't work, and how to execute on that. So I'm really excited for this webinar today. Mark, thanks for joining us. Really excited to have you on board.
Hey, Josh, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So my name is Josh. Like I mentioned before, I'm the marketing manager here at Hatch.
And my name is Mark Levesque. I'm co-founder at Webrunner Media.
And just to quickly summarize today's attendees today, did a quick analysis earlier. Most of the folks here on the line today are restoration companies, remodelers, some painters, some roofing, siding, windows, and doors. This topic is going to be really relevant to you. Webrunner and Hatch have been working together. We're partners, and we've worked with folks across all of these verticals in the home improvement industry. So we've got some really good insights to share for you guys today. A little bit about Hatch. Hatch is a messaging platform designed to increase your close rates. So what we do here at Hatch is we combine text, email, phone, and even voicemails to enable one-on-one conversation with homeowners, automate your follow-ups. So when a lead comes in after somebody's quoted, we can automate that entire communication process with the homeowner and even collect customer reviews. So we've been working with home improvement companies for many years now. We know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it.
Thanks, Josh. Great. So like I said, everyone, my name is Mark Levesque. I'm one of the co-founders here at Webrunner. And as you can see here, say goodbye to unreliable lead flow. That's really one of the things that we aim to help contractors achieve through our services. So we work with contractors across the US and Canada, and really what we do is we help them serve ads on some of the major platforms that you see listed below: Google, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And a large part of what we do is design pages that convert web visitors into leads such that you can turn those leads into sales. One of the things that we should mention is that we play nice with a lot of the tools that many of you are already using. Case in point, we're here on the webinar with Hatch because we have just recently completed a partnership. And so we've got some mutual clients that are seeing lots of value from the ability to not only generate leads, but to nurture those leads, nurture those visitors once they get to a landing page and, reach out requesting more info and or just become a lead within a CRM that's not quite ready to buy, but that will be at some point. So that's a bit about us.
Yep, and like Mark mentioned, we play really nicely together. I was talking about earlier how we both have some unique perspectives here in the industry because Webrunner does a really good job at connecting contractors to home improvement leads, these homeowners that are, at some stage in their buying journey. Either they're, interested in maybe roofing, but they're not ready to pull the trigger yet, or they're already, interested in, making that purchase. They do a really good job connecting contractors through a lot of these digital strategies that we're going to talk through today to connect you with home improvement leads. And then what Hatch does is we actually help you, as soon as they convert, help you nurture those leads, close more of them with our smart two-way messaging platform. So the folks that we've worked with together, Webrunner and Hatch, have seen a lot of results, both from a lead generation perspective, as well as from a increase in close rate perspective as well. So that's all you're going to hear about Hatch. That's all you're going to hear about Webrunner today. The goal here is to provide you guys with key takeaways that you can bring to your business today as we talk through the entire buyer journey, how you can get in front of your competitors. At the end of this webinar, 4 takeaways you can bring to your business today. And that's our promise to you. So to set the stage here, let's talk about what's happening today. Homeowners are still stuck at home. They're looking at the eyesore of the project. They're looking at their windows, looking at the roofing. They want jobs done, and we've got some interesting stats that Mark's going to share on that in a bit. One thing we're noticing is that virtual appointments are moving business forward during this time. The companies that are implementing virtual appointments in their business are seeing much better results than those that aren't. So, anything that you can do today to be as touchless as possible with the homeowner, i.e. virtual appointments, are really helping you move business forward during this time. And the good news, guys, is that you are likely an essential business, or will be very soon. As more and more states open up, you'll be considered an essential business. Most states are today, except for New York, I believe, and New Jersey, you are an essential business.
Beautiful, thank you, Josh. And yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I think these unprecedented times are sort of setting a new standard, if you will. And I think a lot of the companies that are adapting to change might choose to kind of stick around with the whole virtual selling and the digital way of doing things, because they're finding that it's helping to streamline processes and help with the efficiencies that maybe weren't there before. What you see here on your screen and iPad, little story, and some of you might be able to relate if you've got kids. So a couple weeks, maybe a month and a half ago or so, I find myself at home. My wife's in the education sector, and so she was at home as well. And we've got two little kids, two little girls, and there come a time where, as you're trying to do your day job and juggle, parenting, it gets a little bit challenging. And so sometimes you unfortunately have to resort to handing over an iPad to your kid and say, hey, do you mind trying to keep yourself busy for 15 minutes here? Mommy or daddy have a call. And so what ends up happening is screen time on platforms like YouTube and Netflix go up. And so this kind of, when this happened in my household, I thought to myself, I wonder if some of these publishers are making more money throughout this whole kind of pandemic. Next slide here, Josh. There we go. So these are the types of videos that my 3.5-year-old and my 1.5-year-old are watching. So my 3-year-old Emma, she's obsessed with Peppa Pig, and this song that I urge everybody not to search on YouTube, because you hear it once, you'll never get it out of your head, and you'll despise me, and then the chance that you ever reach out to Webrunner one day will just not be there.
It's the baby shark of 2020.
Oh my gosh, have you heard this, Josh?
I don't think so, and I do not want to search it.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at my daughter, looking at these videos, and I notice patterns. I notice that, hey, she gets a device. What does she want to do? Go back and view the same video over and over. So I'm thinking to myself, man, these publishers must just get a ton of impressions from kids rewatching the same videos over and over and over. So I do a quick Google search. I can't remember if I did it aloud or if I typed it in. Next slide there, Josh. So I asked my good buddy Google, I said, hey, are YouTubers earning more money because of coronavirus? And so the first thing that popped up is this article here that I found on Search Engine Journal, which I'm a fan of. We read their stuff regularly. Credible content. YouTube viewership is up, but YouTubers are earning less money. And so as you dig into this a little bit further, I had a hypothesis, and this really validated it. Pandemic causes screen time to be up. Platforms like YouTube, Netflix, online shopping sites, I mean, you name it, it's up across the board. And here you see, it pulled a couple excerpts. New York Times reported last week, traffic's up 15% on YouTube. However, YouTube channels are reportedly earning less money amidst the surge. And large reason behind this is the fact that advertisers in the beginning, when people were really unsure of what was happening, a lot of advertisers pulled their budgets. And so what this did was it created an opportunity. And so some companies here are reporting drops as high as 50%, early this year. And if you look down below, according to Statista, they were saying that the online ad industry is looking to take a hit. As of early March, 26 billion, just massive. And so you do a little bit more digging. Next slide. And you start seeing, some validation here. So, okay, it's great that you see these headlines and this data, all these stats. Is it really happening? And just quick searches, and you see people on Twitter, YouTubers who, I mean, full-time jobs, they're producing content. This is their livelihood, and they're claiming that CPMs, for anyone who doesn't know what a CPM is, it's just a cost per 1,000 impressions. So it's the way that these publishers get paid. You know, they produce videos, they publish them, and every time the video gets shown, you know, 1,000 times or something like that, they can get, you know, a couple dollars. And they're claiming the 30 to 50% decrease. And the reason I'm sort of telling this story is because this has been the case across the board with all of the major publishing platforms. And so if we were to have a conversation a couple months back and I were to tell you, hey, you know what, online viewership is going to skyrocket, but the cost to advertise on this network is going to drop big time. What's the likelihood that you'd invest some ad dollars online? Probably very high. And so that's something that, you know, this likely won't be this way forever, but it's something that is, you know, current and now. So something to kind of keep in mind. I did a couple searches for terms that are a little bit more relevant to our industries. And so naturally we work with a lot of exterior and interior remodelers. So I did the search for remodeling. I just went over to Google Trends. You can type in keywords in there to see, you know, what happened when. And so as the lockdown began in sort of early March, you see that there's a little bit of a dip. And then, so, you know, if you compare to previous years, you would see you know, things start to kind of pick up in this early spring season. Same thing with for a term like roofers, and then also I think we searched contractors near me or something like that. But as you can see, things have kind of picked up. Took a couple weeks and picked up, and now we're you know, seeing a lot of demand, a lot of visibility online. And so this really what it does is just create an opportunity for us. And from an investment standpoint, you're able to stretch that marketing dollar out a lot further.
I love that, Mark. And we're seeing a lot of hope here, here at Hatch, right? Like I mentioned before, virtual appointments moving business forward. We're seeing over 600 virtual appointments have been made since April 1st, using Hatch as that messaging vehicle to schedule those virtual appointments. That's compared to, I think, it was like in the teens in March. So companies are moving to virtual, and as a result, using Hatch, we've seen sales increase 25% in April versus March. So sales are starting to uptick, and that's going alongside with that homeowner demand that Mark just alluded to earlier when he was talking about the search trends. In terms of, you know, what's essential, what's not, I think New York and New Jersey are really the only states where there's been, you know, at least as of yesterday, seen as non-essential. And I know upstate New York just opened back up for construction companies. So construction is deemed an essential business in most states. So with all this increased homeowner interest, obviously there's going to be a lot of ways for you guys to generate leads today. There's a lot of different methods and approaches. So I'm going to turn to Mark for his expertise. So Mark, you know, what should a contractor do today to generate more leads? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, great question, Josh. I'm glad you asked. I have come prepared. And, you know, I think one of the things to be mindful of is that, you know, there are many, many, many ways that you can generate leads. And we all know sales is the lifeblood of a business. And so to generate sales, you need leads. And so leads should be up there on the, you know, importance scale. I've got a slide here that says become a master. And so I'll tell you a little bit about this. Before though, you know, I want to touch on a question that we get asked very, very, very often, and it's the wrong question. How much are your leads, right? How much are your leads? When we get asked that question, it kind of tells us a lot about the contractor that we're sort of speaking with. Really what they're looking at is they're shopping a price, right? They're looking for the cheapest lead that they can get their hands on. And that mindset is really, in our opinion, the wrong kind of mindset to have. And this might be a little polarizing, some people might disagree, but our belief is that if you want to make it to the big leagues, and that's why I've got this become a master slide here, you want to make it to the PGA, you want to become pro. Well, the idea of, you know, walking into the clubhouse one day, you're at the golf course and saying, hey, give me whatever set of clubs you got, you know, give me the cheapest bag of clubs there or whatever. And you get these old rinky dinky, dirty old clubs. It's very difficult to become a master at anything if every single time you're just, you know, using something borrowed. And so the idea here, the concept is simple. Right now, there are effective ways of generating leads that allow you to add layers of predictability and control into your business. And so the concept, the point I'm trying to make here is, if you want to become a master at something, you need to have control. Take any of the great golfers, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, Jack Nicklaus. I mean, these guys have put in the time, they've put in the effort, they have mastered this swing, they've mastered every aspect to the golf game. And I'm using a golf reference because I'm itching to get out there on a golf course. But you know, hitting, if anyone listening knows anything about golf, hitting a set of irons like the ones you see here, blades, it's not that easy for the amateur golfer who typically scores anywhere between 90 and 100, right? It takes practice. And one of the things that you need to do to really come out of this on top is to master the platforms that you see below. And I'm talking Google, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There's massive opportunities right now to generate leads. And the benefit of using these networks is that you know, the data that you acquire through running a lead generation program is something that builds upon itself, so that over time, you're better off than you were the day before. And that's really a key point there. Next slide here. So the next thing that I'd like to share, Josh, with the audience is really just starting with the end. And unfortunately, when we engage in conversations, you know, I know that we're in the marketing space, and there's a lot of you know, smoke and mirrors out there. And sometimes we have conversations with people whereby they may have had a bad experience, they might have been burnt before, and so they come with their guards up, and you know, understandably so. And often when we sort of dig a little deeper to try to better understand what is it that went wrong, because at the end of the day, these platforms, I mean, they're accessible to everyone, and you know, there are ways to leverage them, and there are ways that, you know, you shouldn't, you know, leverage them in a certain fashion. What we uncover when sort of auditing stuff that customers have had a bad experience have done in the past, what we identify is that there's some due diligence that doesn't get done early on. And that's sometimes because companies like to just come and try and sell you, you know, whatever it is that they have. You really need to start kind of backwards. So typically what that looks like, or what that should look like, is something like this. And the numbers are just, you know, arbitrary numbers. You can use whatever you want, but ultimately you want to start with a goal. So what does that goal look like? It can be a small goal, right? 1.2 million, it could be 10 million, 20 million, whatever the goal is. Then you've got to kind of break that out. Right? We want to give it some context. So $1.2 million, okay, great. What's the time frame associated to that? So 12 months, fantastic. Now, how many jobs do we need to go and close to make this a reality? Well, we know that if we know what our average ticket price is, our average job. So in the middle column, you'll see that there. We chose 15,000 for argument's sake here. And then, you know, to make 80 jobs become a reality, how many leads will we need based on our current ability to close sales? So if we're looking at 16%, that means that we would need 500 leads to generate 80 jobs, okay? And that would allow us to achieve that $1.2 million goal. Now, from a marketing perspective, things become a little bit easier to sort of forecast. And this is important because everybody, you know, that's shopping a potential marketing, you know, avenue, they want to know, well, what can I expect? It's an important question. It's a question that everybody has. So there are things that publishers like Google allow you to do to determine whether or not it's feasible for you to advertise on the platform, okay? So one very simple thing to do is to determine what an average click can cost in your market. I don't want to get very, very technical here, but ultimately all you do is you take the services that you provide, you do a search in Google's ad platform for variations of different keywords that you would potentially want to show up for, and Google can come back to you with an average cost per keyword, which is great. Now, typically we see average click costs ranging anywhere between $15 to $20. Now, in some markets, it's as high as, you know, $100, and in others, you know, here locally, we've got some clients still getting clicks for $4 or $5, believe it or not. Regardless, that average click is very important. The next metric just below is your visitor to lead conversion rate, okay? So that number is important because it's what tells you how good of a job your website or your web page is doing turning visitors who land into leads. And so on the in the pay-per-click world, naturally we're sending people who are a little bit more interested, right? They're searching for what you were looking for. So the conversion rate is typically a little bit higher. one of the things I urge people to do is, dig into this, talk to the company that you're working with, your webmasters, your marketing companies, to identify what your conversion rate is on your website. It's very important, because otherwise you really can't forecast any of this stuff. So now that you got the 10% visitor to lead conversion, well, now you know that if every click is $15 and you're turning 1 out of every 10 clicks into a lead, now you've got an average lead cost of $150. And so this, Josh, really is the beauty, because now with this hypothetical lead cost that we have here, and this, again, it should be fairly accurate, not set in stone, but should be somewhere around there, if that is in fact the average click cost in your local market and your page converts at 10%. Well, that means that in order to get the number of jobs that you need, you will need to spend $6,300 a month, right? So I hope everyone's with me here. If we take 80 jobs, that means we need 500 leads. 500 leads divided by 12 months is an average of 42 leads per month. Well, if my lead is $150, it means I've got to spend approximately $6,300. So what we've done here is we've eliminated guesswork. We've made our best attempt at identifying what a budget should be for our local market, for the services that we want to promote. And so this is kind of a measuring stick that we're going to use as goalposts as we deploy a campaign to determine if we're on point or not. So Josh, I don't know if you or anyone else in the audience has questions so far on this point, but this is the math that you have to put into place before you start executing on any of this digital stuff, because otherwise it becomes too ambiguous and you don't know what to measure.
Mark, I think one question a lot of folks will have is, like, how do you determine, what do you typically see contractors that you work with see as the goal, right? Is it like 10% year over year, 15%? What is the typical goal that contractors oftentimes have in front of them?
In terms of marketing cost, you're saying?
Just in terms of revenue goals, job goals. It's, in the changing industry like this, I'm just curious, what that looks like.
Yeah, I personally get to see all kinds. I like to be client facing, so I have a lot of calls with clients and prospects alike. And so we'll see customers who are doing 25 million want to scale to 50 and some beyond. I spoke with somebody last week who said, hey, I'm 1.5 million and I'm confident that I can hit 10 million by the end of the year. So there are some with some very aggressive goals, lofty goals. Some people have goals that are, they just don't push the envelope because they don't know what's possible, right? So they may be doing $250,000, $500,000, and that $1 million is like this pipe dream that they don't believe is ever going to become a reality. We spoke with one company who's a remodeler who acquired a business who had never done more than $500,000. The business had been around for over 20 years, and this gentleman took over, and he's from the industry. He's had other businesses before, sold some companies, things like that. So he came in with experience, and first year put some aggressive marketing in place, some systems, right people, just shy of $3 million within under 12 months. So everything's possible. We've seen all kinds of growth. Difficult, Josh, to give you an actual percentage, but yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of people double their business in relatively short time frames.
That's great.
Yeah. So, according to the previous slide, this is what results look like. And so, to kind of piggyback off the point of, well, hey, these are the metrics that you need to be measuring. And in marketing, we all know there's a lot of metrics. Josh, you and I were having a conversation about what we like to call vanity metrics, right? If your marketing company is giving you a 20-page report with, hey, here's, all the keywords that you're being indexed for, and, this is the traffic you're getting, how many impressions you got, how many clicks you got. You can't bring impressions or clicks to the bank, and it's not going to put food on the table for your family, right? So you need something a lot more concrete than that. And so what we do is, we want to dial things in such that we can determine, okay, we've got a lead cost, we've got our cost to acquire a customer, we know what we're going to need to spend to make our goal a reality. And so this is what that kind of looks like here. So, 42 leads up at the top. Based on our I think we had 16%, close rate on that. It means that we should be selling just shy of 7 sales, which would represent over $100,000 in revenue. Of course, from that, we're more interested in the gross profit, so that's just over 37,000, and that basically yields us a customer acquisition cost of just under $1,000. So basically, every time I spend $938, I am acquiring a customer. So that is, spend $1 to make 6. Okay. This is your measuring stick. If you have any other marketing source which can outperform these numbers, that's where you put your marketing dollars, right? If you don't have anything else, and this is what is, leading the pack, well, this is where you put your dollars, right? And so that is a number that we focus on heavily. It's all about, ROI. We want to be able to put in $1 and get 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 on the back end, Josh. That's what contractors need to be looking at. So that's the start with the end in mind sort of approach. Okay, buyer journey, super important. Years ago, it used to be that people spent a little bit of time in each of the phases and they weren't necessarily as well researched on their own, because we relied heavily on salesmanship to be able to take people through the consideration and the decision phase. Now, if you look at the modern day buyer journey, you're seeing that consumers are more educated than ever. With the advent of all the devices, technology, internet, apps, just consumption of content online is huge. And so you see here, you have a much, much, much larger window, which is an opportunity, again, if you're taking advantage of it, to get in front of people, tell your story, get your message out there, and be the one that they contact when they're ready. Okay, so the next slide here, what you'll notice is this is just some data, and there's a lot of data out there on this, but they're saying, hey, 2001 consumers on average would use up to 2 touch points before deciding on something, whereby now in 2020, consumers are using at a minimum of 6 touch points. And we can actually attest to it being closer to 8 to 10 different touch points. And so to give you a little bit of context, let's put that into perspective. The buyer journey, this is kind of a different way of looking at it. I mentioned that if you use that window properly, you can win. Well, a lot of people, unfortunately, even though they kind of understand this concept, they're still focusing on the peak of this pyramid, right? So that's the consumers that are ready to buy now, okay? The next slide will actually show how this works, but to just go down here, oh, sorry, Josh. For anyone who hasn't seen this pyramid, just kind of go down. So, there's 10% of people who are going to buy, right? 3% are ready to buy now, they're actively searching. 10% are open to it, but they're just, haven't made their mind up yet. There's another 60% here, which, they're either not thinking about it yet, but they need it. And then there's another 30% that just don't think that they're interested, but they still need it. So just a little bit of persuasion can help. And then there's 30% that, you could do everything in the world to try to swing them your way, and it's just not going to happen. So the point is here, you cannot rely on the 3%. Here's what the 3% looks like. So this is the 3%, okay? Here I am advocating for Google, big opportunity. You can get in front of people who are searching for your services. So Google, for many, many years has been one of the leading ways to generate leads. Many of the large lead aggregators out there still invest heavily on these platforms to generate leads, and for good reason. It's a platform that allows advertisers to target homeowners who have a very specific buying intent. Now, sometimes that intent is brand focused because people know who it is that they want to work with, but more often than not, it'll be a generic search like what you're seeing here. I might search for roofing company near me, best roofing contractor, something along those lines, okay? So what happens when someone does that search? In the next circle, they see a search ad, right? Potentially non-branded, but something to kind of get people to, come in and look at what it is that you have to offer. Ideally, you're taking them to a page that does a good job of converting that visitor into leads. And this is where, if you recall that conversion rate we're talking about, this is where that happens, and that's what you need to track. So this is just a landing page. You don't see the whole thing now, but that's a little pop-up with the information that we collect to capture a lead. This is the 3%. If your marketing stops at this point, meaning you pay money to show a Google ad, someone sees an ad, they click, great, you were successful, you got them to your page. If your conversion rate is 10%, the question that I have for you is what's happening with that remaining 90%? And that's the challenge. A lot of people are stuck in this old school way of leveraging search, and it's great, you know, pat on the back, they're doing pay-per-click, but there's a lot more that you could be doing. So this is more in line with what you need to be doing these days. This is how you go and reach that 70%, right? That remaining 60% of people where there's still opportunity. So again, starts with the search. You can load them all up, Josh. So starts with the search. You show them an ad. They get to your landing page, but they don't convert. That's not a lost opportunity. You invested some ad dollars, you got them to your web page, and now with technology, you're able to get back in front of people. And this is known, you guys probably hear the term retargeting thrown around like crazy. And you all know that it works because you've shopped for things online before and you've been retargeted, right? You look at something, I don't care if it's a vehicle, the automotive industry is notorious for this, so is Amazon. You're looking for a product, you put it into a cart, you don't buy. All of a sudden the ads are following you, right? So that's sort of you know, feeling we can kind of produce that. And the platforms that we referenced earlier on, the Facebook and the Instagram, these are platforms that are great to bring people back to your website. So, if, you know, like you see here, this is one of our mutual customers, Kingdom. So you've got Dan on there. Now, somebody might have seen his roofing, his residential or commercial roof replacement page. They didn't convert. Now we're going to serve them an ad. And that ad can do many, many, many things. Because we know they've been to a page, well, now we can show them some social proof. It can be customers on camera talking about their experience working with Kingdom. It could be Dan explaining a concept about, you know, what to look for if you feel like you've been hit by hail or something like that. There's a lot of things that we can do. But the beauty about this circle here with Dan in the video is that you're storytelling, you're humanizing your brand. You get to put a face to a name. You get to create an emotional connection. And we also get to better understand who is actually engaging with these ads to then give us more targeted data that we can leverage to reach more people. So this is akin to, you know, if you've sent out mailers before, and I know, you know, many people on the call have tried print, and there is a way to make print work, but imagine being able to pay less the next time you send out a mailer only to reach the people who you know put that initial piece aside because they were interested and they said, you know what, I'm going to call this company at one point. I'm just not ready to do it yet. Imagine that level of insight. That's what platforms like Facebook and Instagram can do for you. They're disruptive advertising platforms. They're not intent-based. They're there to basically engage an audience, right? Somebody's on a social network. They're not looking for your service in that moment. But by showing them an ad, which is relevant to them because you know 2 days prior they did a Google search and found you, now you're providing value to people. You're not being a hindrance. And so what might happen, that second to last circle where you see Kingdom Roofing, well, now you've just scored yourself a branded search because you're top of mind, your brand is memorable, right? And then of course you bring them to your landing page. And again, the idea is to convert them into a lead. So far, so good, Josh?
Oh yeah.
So from that point, great. We figured out how to leverage these paid media platforms to get found, right? To get, you know, the right consumer to get on their radar and to get them over to our website, our webpage. You'll hear the term landing page thrown around a lot in the marketing world, and that's with good reason. So landing pages are pages that we use specifically for the purpose of sending paid traffic to. And it's not because as marketers, we feel that the websites you have are not adequate. Sometimes we'll hop on calls and somebody says, oh, I just paid to get a great looking website redone. And, you know, why can't I send my traffic there? The answer is not that you can't. We can, and in fact, we'll often test it. But the idea is that a landing page we like to leverage because we focus the attention specifically on what the consumer searched online. And so everything from the heading that you see up top to the offer, to the images, to the testimonials that we have on the page, it's all going to be geared to address the questions, the concerns, and misconceptions that the person searching that product has in mind. So for example, the page on the left here, you see this is a siding company. Somebody may have done a search for a residential siding contractor, right? Well, they get there right away. They've got an image that backs up, hey, this is what we do. We've got text. We've got a compelling offer above the fold. This is really small, but I guess we can you can see there underneath we've got different different offers, different benefits to working with them. And so we try to make it as much about the consumer as we can, right? Your sales teams, they speak to the consumers. They know what are the pain points, the misconceptions, the concerns that people have, the challenges. So on these pages, we're trying to articulate that we understand, you know, the shoes that the customer is in. We're not trying to make this sale with this page. We're just trying to say, hey, we understand, and we are the best option for you right now. Pick up the phone, call us, fill out the form, send us a message, something. Get in touch with us, right? To the right of it, you see that's a window replacement company. Now that one up at the top, you can see a bunch of links up there. Even though that looks like a main navigation, it's not. Those are anchor links. So if anyone clicks on those, it will shoot somebody further down on the page. And so basically we're improving the customer experience, the user experience, so that if somebody's looking for certain types of windows, great, they can get that. And then the points that you see on the right here, these are just some of the best practice things that a landing page should have. So especially right now, with everything going on, you want to make sure that you address the touchless, you know, sales experience, right? Hey, we can do things remote. Hey, we use technology to, you know, take satellite imagery of your home. Hey, we can do our estimating process remotely. It's all online. It's virtual. We use Zoom, right? So you've got to be able to address that concern head on. It's got to be relevant to what they're looking for. This is an opportune time to, again, bring visibility to your brand. These aren't rented leads or purchased leads. You've spent money, you're bringing somebody to your page, show off your office, your trucks, your people, right? Humanize the experience. People want to buy from other people, so that's very important. And then of course, what's the overall experience like? How easy is this to kind of skim through on a mobile device, right? And we know just looking at data that the usage on mobile is extremely, extremely high. So these are things that you've got to test. Sometimes your website might be loaded with information, not all that you know, good on mobile platforms and tablets and things like that. So pay attention to that. Social proof, what are we referring to here? We're trying to give people a lens into what a finished product may look like, into what working with you looks like. So who better to communicate that than one of your existing customers? And far too often we try to tout ourselves as, hey, we're the best because XYZ, and hey, we're this, and hey, we're that. That is never as well received as when you've got a customer saying those same things on your behalf, right? So the credibility factor just shoots up when you can put, you know, human beings, people who've done business with you on your page. It's going to help your conversion rates. And then, you know, this kind of goes without saying, but again, we see very many people make this mistake, offers, right? They just struggle to put compelling offers out there. So now with cash flow being, you know, a main concern for people, well, financing becomes, you know, more and more important. So these are things that you want to think of. You want to center on these pages. You want to give people just enough that they feel confident in reaching out to you, but not too much to overwhelm them. And this is quite interesting. So landing pages, again, to kind of make the business case for why you'd want to be employing landing pages if you're running paid advertising campaigns. So here's an example. This is for a paver restoration company we ran campaigns for. And when we launched a variant of this page, not an excessively long page. It's actually longer than it was, but we're showing somebody a before and after shot. And then we've got 3 pictures underneath the main, above the fold there, just below the fold, excuse me, giving them an idea of what pricing may look like for the different jobs. That's it. There's nothing else on the page, okay? This particular page had a conversion rate of 9.1% on mobile specifically. Now, I'm going to use some of the numbers that we had from above, but with an $8,000 budget and an average click cost, right, cost per click of $16, that means that that $8,000 budget is going to net us 500 visitors, which at that 9.1% conversion rate is going to capture 45 leads. Over time, we test variants, right? In this case, we did a split test. So Josh, you can pull that one up. We came out with a new version, and a lot of this stuff was content that was relayed back to us from the customer, things that we felt might be better to have on the page. So we started adding that. And over time, once we'd sent enough visitors to a page, we were able to determine that with enough certainty that variant A was a winner. Because when you look at it, 6.4% conversion rate, okay, doesn't seem like much. It's 2 point, some odd percent. $8,000 budget, same thing. It's still going to net you 500 visitors because your cost per click is the same. But now all of a sudden you've got a page that's generating 32 leads versus 45. So now if we use the data from above, well, what if your average ticket is $15,000, right? And your closing rate is 16%. Well, 13 additional leads at a 16% closing rate means that you just made an extra 2 sales. Those 2 sales mean $30,000 in revenue and an $11,000 increase in gross profit. That is one tiny, tiny little test, a split test. It's just a different page layout. And that is something that is often overlooked in the pay-per-click world. People run campaigns and they run them and they let them run. And it's a big, big, big mistake. So you've got to be running split tests. If anyone's wondering what's the difference with a split and an A/B test, an A/B test is where we isolate a variable within a page and we test that. So that could be a headline, it could be a specific offer, it can be something very, very minute. Split test can be a drastically different change, like in this case here, short form page versus a long form page. So that's one way to increase the results that you're currently getting from your paid efforts. Now, follow up to this, and I think Josh, you'll appreciate this. The pages that I've shown you here had form fills, right? So forms that somebody can fill out. If somebody's not ready to talk to a human being now, fill out the form, we'll get back in contact with you later. Or a phone number, call us if you want to talk. Adding this here to a page can potentially increase that conversion rate by 30, and some companies claim as high as 40 to even 50%. And this is where Hatch comes in, because with their platform, you can get this widget up on the website, and now you're giving people another option. And so naturally it just makes sense. You're giving people 3 options instead of 2. You're more likely to connect with more people for that same budget. And this is where the magic really starts to happen.
I love that, Mark. Thank you for those insights. I'm really excited about that whole flow and that whole strategy, because if you just work from the finish line, where do you want to be, and work backwards, you can really dictate your entire strategy that way. And I love that approach, Mark. So what do you do once the lead comes in? I mean, you get the lead, we have an effective digital, we have an effective ad strategy. What do you do as soon as somebody submits the form on that landing page, that high converting landing page? What do you do? Well, data shows that you are 21 times more likely to close a deal if you respond to the lead in less than 5 minutes. 21 more times likely. And what's more is these leads, they want to talk to you over text, right? They don't want to talk to you necessarily over phone, email, or Facebook, because you'll get a higher response rate over text. 9 out of 10 homeowners, in fact, prefer that way of communicating with you. So with a 98% open rate, a higher response rate than on phone, email, or Facebook, texting is going to be the way forward for your business, instant texting especially. So the idea here is you work with Webrunner, to execute on the digital strategy, get leads flowing through your pipeline. As soon as that lead comes in through that landing page form, instantly send them a text. And when that text gets sent, your response rate is going to be 98%. So you won't lose that job to your competitors. Chances are they are researching your competitors as well. So the idea is be first to the lead, start with text, and use every other channel to get the higher closing rate. And here's what that actually looks like in real time. This is an example of a window company that instantly texted their leads. And this is actually from a couple weeks ago. So, hi Josh, this is Chris from ABC Windows. Our reps are happy and healthy to do your appointment in home, but we are also offering virtual appointments during this time just to be safe. Which would you prefer? So in an age where some homeowners are fine with you coming over to do the estimate, some homeowners would prefer you do it virtually. You're giving them that option. And then we get the response immediately, because again, 98% response rate over text, or open rate over text. So the chance and the likelihood of them responding is very high. They say, virtual appointment, please. Can we do 10 a.m. tomorrow? Boom. We get that booked. Yes, that works at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Please join my meeting on your phone at whereby.com/mywindowcompany. So Whereby is a free messaging tool, or excuse me, a free conferencing tool, just like Zoom. We like Whereby because we integrate with Whereby. You can actually start a meeting directly in Hatch, our messaging platform. We enable that. And what that looks like is in your browser, you can actually be conducting the virtual appointment from your couch. There's me on the left-hand side with the scraggly hair and the beard from the COVID era before the haircut. And then you got Matt over here that's showcasing his window. So you can conduct these virtual appointments very easily and very quickly. And here at Hatch, we've got a lot of resources for you. Just go to our blog. You can see some good resources on how to actually conduct these virtual appointments. But really, guys, I mean, it's all about getting in front of the lead as soon as possible, giving them the option to do a virtual appointment. But you're going to have cases, guys, where they will cancel the appointment. We see this a lot, and we saw this a lot in March and April of cancellations, people wanting to move their appointment out to later on because of the concern, the cash concerns as well. So what do you do if they cancel? We got to make it easy for them to reschedule. This is another example of a text that came in from our platform. Hi, Josh, this is Chris from ABC Windows. I saw that you canceled your appointment with us. When would be a better time for you? Well, the lead didn't respond. So what did we do? We automatically sent a text the next day that said, hey, Josh, feel free to reschedule your appointment here. And what we used here was Calendly. Calendly is a great tool. It's a free tool that you can use in your business to automatically schedule these appointments. And Mark, I'm sure you've seen a lot of your clients implement a calendar type of selector for their business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it gives people options, and it's a way to not let things kind of lingo. You can give them that option, they book right away, and you're set. Your meeting's set, so your close rates go up because you're setting more appointments.
It's great. Yeah, we've seen a lot of companies implement this on their website, implement this in the messages that they're sending out in Hatch, just like I showed you right here. That automatic text that gets sent out that says schedule your appointment here. It's really effective for today's homeowner to have that option to be able to schedule.
Yeah, and one thing that's neat, just on that point, Josh, if I can jump in, Calendly also has kind of a team option, which is cool. So if you've got, if you're worried about, okay, we've got one calendar, we've got, so many people, how does that work? I believe they have a great, feature for that. There's ways you can do like round robins, so somebody wants to book an appointment, there's always an available spot, and then it can assign it to different people. So that's pretty neat for some of the larger organizations.
No doubt, no doubt. So we've dealt with appointment cancels. Now, what do we do with appointments that have actually gone forward, but then the leads go dark? So we've got to move them into rehash territory. And this is something that here at Hatch, we're particularly experts on. We're experts at lead follow-up, that instant engagement. We're experts at understanding what to say, when to say it, how to say it, especially as it relates to rehash. We've worked with hundreds of different home improvement companies over the last few years. And what we found is that if you do not follow up with a lead within the first 48 hours, of the appointment, your chances of getting that job or getting a response from the homeowner decrease dramatically. Check out the response rate on day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. That all trickles down. So guys, it's really critical that you follow up, not just as soon as the lead comes in through that landing page form that Mark talked about earlier, but also after the appointment. It's all about that consistent follow-up, stay in front of your homeowner, stay top of mind. So there's a few key tenets, I guess you could say, about how to actually execute this for your business. Like I mentioned, be the first to get to the lead after the quote is given, beat the competitor. Use automation and messaging to increase that engagement, have those texts automatically get sent out. There's a lot of good tools for that, including Hatch, that can help you with that automation. Understand objections, right? You're gonna have pricing objections, you're gonna have timing objections, and you gotta figure out how to surface those up and delegate those. So you gotta have a strategy for that as well. And the last piece is have visibility and accountability, right? I mean, you got a sales manager, you got a lot of sales reps. You wanna make sure that your reps are handling these conversations in a good way. We've oftentimes found that reps will get an objection and they'll just forget about the lead and not worry about it, and it just sits in their CRM and it's dead. You've got to have visibility and that accountability as a sales manager into what's being said and how it's being said. So the idea here, guys, is I mentioned multi-touch follow-up. This is just an example of that, a blend of texting, emailing, calling. In Hatch, you can actually even drop a voicemail automatically without even the phone ringing. So it's another really interesting thing that we do that's being proven to be pretty effective right now. So again, multi-touch, have these get sent out, stay top of mind. And here's what that looks like from a rehash perspective. Hi, Josh, this is Christian, ABC Windows. Great to meet you earlier today. I sent a quote to your email. So, Chris did a really good job at automatically sending that quote to the email and then followed up with a text and asked if you had any questions. Well, the homeowner didn't actually respond. So they turned into rehash territory, excuse me. So we have a second attempt here. 2 days later, just left you a voicemail. Due to recent events, we have a lot of inventory on hand and would like to offer you a 15% discount if you're able to get your windows installed by April 30th. Would that be of interest? This is a real conversation that happened with one of our window companies. We just anonymized it in April. So what actually happened here is the lead didn't respond and automatically a text got sent out that said, we'll give you a discount if you sign before April 30th. And then all of a sudden the homeowner responded, but they said, it's too expensive for us right now. Well, what do you do in this case? And this is what we talked about earlier, guys. We said, I said, let's make sure we surface the objection and handle it with the right person. So this is something that you would do with the sales manager, right? Sales manager jumps in, says, I understand the concern with the recent federal interest rate cut, which guys, use this messaging for your business. We'll send this out afterwards so you can implement this into your business. With the recent federal interest rate cut, we can offer you financing for $0 down with 0% interest. Your monthly payments would just be $75. I know, Mark, when you were showing me the Kingdom Roofing landing page, they had the offer for that monthly payment, roofing as low as, I think it was like $50 a month or something like that. That's proven to be really effective that we've seen for our clients too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Then the lead says, give me a call. And then we can get on the phone and handle the objection. And they actually ended up closing a $10,000 window job from this. So really, really impressive to see that flow there. So this is what that conversation visibility looks like in Hatch. You can see all your conversations there from inbound when the lead comes in, from a landing page to the estimate to the job scheduled. Sales manager has eyes on all of this. You jump in, text, email, call, get tagged into the conversation, all that good stuff, automate the follow-ups, all inside of Hatch. So here's what you can expect to see. Mark did a really good job showing what results look like with an effective advertising strategy. This is what you can expect to receive with implementing instant engagement and rehash into your business. So let's just say you're a roofing company that does 15 appointments in a week, your close rate's 36%, and your average job size is $6,000. You end up not selling nearly 500 customers in a year, but based upon data from the hundreds of homeowners in the past year that we've worked with, home improvement companies we've worked with in the past year, we found that you should see a 20 to 21% uplift in revenue if you implement instant engagement and rehash into your business today. If you implement instant engagement, instantly get in front of the lead when they're ready to talk. They fill out a form on your website. They fill out that chat bubble, that we showed earlier from Hatch, or you implement rehash in your business to follow up on leads that go dark. You'll see an increase in 20% in revenue, and that's typically what we found with home improvement companies, which in this case equates to about $240,000 in annual revenue or 20 grand per month. So you can see this ROI for yourself. Just go to usehatchapp.com/ROI. I know we're running short on time here, Mark, but we did promise 4 takeaways to the folks on the line here to bring to your business today. So let's just kick these off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think important thing to underline here on my end is that paid media is a huge opportunity, and that the idea should be not to focus on just the 3%, but to go after the 70% of the market that is going to buy at some point. Target the 3 with your search campaigns, but don't neglect the rest. Get some Facebook and some Instagram ads going and start doing some retargeting, and think about it as though you're marketing to people over a prolonged kind of period of time. And when they're ready to buy, you're the decision that they'll make. Second point here is to really, by running your own lead generation system, ultimately what you're doing is you're building a system that can learn and improve over time, which results in you being able to drive your costs down. And that's what we're huge proponents of. I think, Josh, the stuff you shared, it just goes so, hand in hand with what we do here. We want to help our clients generate leads, But if on the back end, they're overwhelmed with potentially volume of leads and they don't have, the ability to get to leads quickly, so the speed to leads not there, maybe the rehash programs are not there, our campaigns, our ability to drive leads almost becomes ineffective, right? Because great, we're getting leads, but they're just not closing. So really keep those two points in mind.
Love that. And from our perspective, look, guys, offer virtual appointments and simple scheduling. Make it easy for them to, talk to you without actually meeting with you. If that's how the homeowner wants, if that's what the homeowner wants, make it easy for them to schedule it. Again, 2 tools, guys. Whereby, it's a free tool for virtual appointments. Simple scheduling with Calendly. Like Mark mentioned, you can do round robin, so you can have your entire sales team in there. And they've got a free version of their tool too, and that's called Calendly. The last place is get to the lead as fast as possible and beat the competition, right, guys? I mean, this is absolutely critical to execute on all those leads that are coming in through those landing pages that you're building and all those advertising programs. You want to make sure you get the most out of your investment and get to the lead as fast as possible and to beat the competition. So with that said, we've shared with you guys a lot of hopefully good takeaways for your business. If you'd like to learn more about Hatch, if you'd like to learn more about Webrunner, how we can help you in your business, let us know. Just select Hatch, Webrunner, both of us, or whatnot, and let us know if you'd like us to follow up with you, see how we can help your business grow from a lead generation perspective with Webrunner, and increasing that close rate with an effective messaging platform with Hatch. So I'll let the poll go for about 15, 20 more seconds. Let us know if you're interested in learning more about us. We'd be happy to reach out and see what we can do to help you guys grow your business. See a lot of folks participating. Thanks for participating, guys. Leave the poll open for just a few more seconds. Thanks for participating, guys. And then we're going to open up the Q&A. So while this poll is finishing up here, head on over to the Q&A section on the right-hand side. And write your question and be happy to answer it. Cool. Going to close the poll now. Great. Thanks for your participation, everybody. So Q&A, we've got a couple questions. First question is, will the recording be sent out? Yes, the recording will be sent out. Second question that came in is, for companies that want both husband and wife available, how do you do that by text? Well, this is, I guess the industry traditionally called these folks one-leggers, which I do not agree with that term. But I understand the concern with wanting to have 2 decision makers at the home when you do that estimate. So for companies that want both husband and wife available, how do you do that by text? Well, if you have one person's phone number, you can reach out and ask who would be making the decision in this purchase. That's been really effective that we've seen is, hey, who would be making this decision? And chances are the homeowner will say, oh, it'll be me and my wife. Then you can respond and say, hey, that sounds great. When are you guys available? So just asking the homeowner, who's going to be making the decision can be really effective just by, putting the ball in their court, allowing them to respond. We got a couple more questions that came in. I know we're running short on time, but I want to make sure we get to them. This question is about Facebook. Facebook is foreign to me. What should I expect? Any tips that you guys can share would be great. I think this is a good question for you, Mark.
Yep. Great question. Appreciate that. So Facebook is different. I mean, what you need to remember here is that Facebook is not necessarily a search engine. It's not like Google. And the mistake people make is they often just want to throw an ad up on Facebook and go for that conversion, go for that lead right away. You need to treat it almost like a relationship, whereby you need to, put some ads out there at first and purely educate and inform people. Try to get some engagement with those ads. Now you've got a better pool of people that you can show ads that are a little bit more salesy, a little bit more geared to go and capture that lead. So that's probably the biggest thing that you need to focus on. Second to that would be you've got to test different types of content. And I think people have a tendency to overcomplicate this. They think that they've got to go and hire this professional, film crew, take, weeks out of their schedule to record all kinds of content. It doesn't have to be that advanced. Start with a phone, get out there. If you do siding or roofing, get up on the roof, shoot a video, explain, teach, and that can make for some great ads. And if ever you have questions, get in touch with us and we can give you a bit more insight on that.
I love that. Thanks. Last question is, are you seeing financing effective with closing deals? And I think we can both talk on that. Mark, I mean, from our perspective, one of the playbooks that we have from a messaging perspective is that follow-up where we offer financing if there's an objection that surfaces. So we've seen, especially with the interest rates being very low here in the US, we're finding financing to be pretty effective. What are you seeing, Mark?
Without a doubt, yeah, I second that. That is for us, no brainer. If somebody's able to come to the table with compelling financing offers, it's one of the things that we want to be able to feature front and center. Of course, we wouldn't, go and plug every single plan that's available, right? But something that is not too costly to the business. If they're okay putting that front and center, we'd like to advertise that and make it just less of a commitment, an easier decision to kind of buy into as a homeowner.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. And thanks for joining, Mark. This was really fun, really good insights for the entire customer journey. That was great. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Josh. I'm glad to have had the opportunity to speak with the audience. Hope people learned something today.
Awesome. Take care, everybody. If you want to get a free Webrunner audit, go to webrunnermedia.com. Really great solution there. And we integrate well with Hatch. We're really good partners. So you can try Hatch for free at usehatchapp.com/Webrunner. Thank you, everybody, and take care. Stay safe.